G'day legends, it's finally fight week once again. It's Monday morning here in Australia, and even though this weekend's Apex card is your standard UFC Apex card garbage, it is good to have it back, isn't it? You know, we just had the Christmas break, and it's like, even though you hate your auntie and your uncle and your cousins, there is something nice and familiar about having all that arguing going on around the Christmas table, and that's what it's like with the UFC Apex now. Yeah, it's the Apex, and yeah, we hate it, but it's ours. It's our absolute dog breakfast of a fight card, and we miss it, and it's good to have it back. Look, either way, I am getting away from the point of this video, which is like anti-YouTube 101. Categorically, the worst thing that you can do on YouTube is ramble at the start of the video and not get to the point. But I just wanted to take a moment and say Happy New Year. Welcome back to class. Let's have a good year this year, boys. And we're back on and we're straight into it. Let's go. Now, today's topic, today's discussion. Yesterday, me and the Council of Chads, that's what I call the live stream out there, we sat down to do our live stream, and the topic was predicting every pound-for-pound fighters 2025. I poached the idea off Bedtime MMA, but I didn't watch the video. I just saw the title and I went, good one, Bedtime. That is a great debate topic. Let me bring it to the council. And we started with Charles Oliveira. He's ranked number 15th in the UFC pound-for-pound rankings in the world. And we worked all the way up until we eventually got to Max Holloway as well. And it became quickly obvious that, yeah, Charles Oliveira was probably going to fight Islam Makhachev. But then after that, or maybe before that, while Islam sorts out this fight with Ahmed Sarukian, somewhere along the line, Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira, they are going to fight each other again in 2025. Max Holloway is a UFC staple, a veteran. And Charles Oliveira, he has cemented himself as part of that exclusive club. One of the top 5 lightweights in the world that only rematch each other. Taking the spot of the former GOAT of the sport, Tony Ferguson, 2013 to 2019. Tony Ferguson, rest in peace. But now, Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira, they are part of that elite group. And you put them together, it doesn't matter what the main event is, right? The co-main event, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira 2, 5 round, because it will sell a pay-per-view. It's on its own. Yeah, you could have 2 WMMA title fights and have Max and Charles 2 as the 5-round feature fight, and that pay-per-view is getting watched by everyone and their dog. Everyone in the world is watching that fight. I'm going ahead. I'm putting the predictions down. Charles beats Max this time and then fights for a new title, or it's the other way around. Charles fights for a title, loses, and then he fights Max and beats Max. And this is where the arguments flew in hard and fast from the Council of Chads, right? Past all the feet emojis from those sick degenerates in the chat, the real debate started and the points started to come through. What would Charles Oliveira do to Max? Why was I so adamant that Charles Oliveira would beat Max Holloway? How come I had written that so laissez-faire? Didn't even matter. I was like, obviously Charles Oliveira beats Max Holloway. They started typing away, trying to convince me, right? Max is the better boxer. Clearly the better boxer, yeah? Reach isn't a problem. Yes, Charles could sub him, but Charles has to get him down first, and Charles has to keep him down first. Who does that to Max Holloway? Who takes Max Holloway down and keeps him down, yeah? Oh, Max could get chinned. Well, Max just got chinned. Yeah, his chin is gone. But is it? Is Max's chin gone? Yes, we just saw him get chinned. But what about the weight cut that he just went through? He was gearing up all last year for UFC 300 for 155. He wanted to take his time and do it properly. Remember, he tried to do 155 on short notice before against Dustin Poirier and felt that he was too small in that fight. So if he was going to do 155 again, he wanted to take his time to do it properly. So he did that. He took plenty of time to gear up to 155, but then he had to drop back down to 145. And let's face it, Max looks horrible at 145. I don't mean his skill set, boys. I don't mean his skill set. I mean, he looks horrible. He looks like something from 28 days, years, months later, whatever you want, 28 decades later. He looks like a zombie, right? He looks like a falling leaf would hurt him, yeah? And let us also face the facts here. Charles Oliveira's boxing is not Ilia Topuria's boxing. Yes, Charles Oliveira has got fantastic striking, but it's not Ilia's boxing. It's MMA striking. It's easier for Max to roll with the strikes of Charles Oliveira because Ilia's devastating power comes from that boxing when he stands his base, right? When he stands his base and he gets up on the inside because of how short he is. He gets on the inside, he plants his feet, he stands his base, he works the body right there in front of it. And then once he is ripping to the body and he sees that your hands are dropping into his eye line of sight, he brings that top hand over the top, and then it is good night, Irene. But that is not Charles Oliveira's striking. That is a very different kind of striking than Charles Oliveira striking, and a Max Holloway chin at 145 is a very different to a Max Holloway chin at 155. So we listed all of this out, and as we do on the live stream, we squeezed out a poll together. We finished off a poll together, and the chat essentially broke down to a 50-50 split. But here's the thing. The Charles Oliveira side of the argument, there weren't any big arguments coming back from their end. Remember, I started all of this off by just saying that I typed out Charles Oliveira obviously wins. And the Council of Chads, they started arguing against me, as they almost exclusively do every time I say anything on the goddamn live stream. But the pro-Charles side, where were the arguments? I don't remember hearing any arguments from the pro-Charles Oliveira side of things. In fact, I don't think there were any. I think they were, well, he's Charles Oliveira. He pretty much beat Arman Tsarukyan. He's one step behind the best MMA fighter in the world right now, Islam Makhachev. Maybe one of the most well-rounded MMA fighters we've ever seen. But that's not a real argument other than, well, it's Charles Oliveira. Obviously, Charles Oliveira has a chance of winning. And yeah, he's got a chance of winning. But how? How is Charles Oliveira going to win this fight? When Max gets back up, if Charles does take him down, he'll expose his back and Charles could finish him there. He could rear naked choke him there, Dougie. He could. So there's like a 30% chance of Charles Oliveira beating Max Holloway via rear naked choke. Oh, they said, well, look at Oliveira's wrestling, right? He can shoot them now. He can force Max to lower his hands. And you might say, well, what wrestling? This is Charles Oliveira we're talking about. People follow him to the ground. And like, he doesn't have wrestling. Well, he does now. He's learned wrestling now. Go back and watch that Michael Chandler fight again, like I did after I just finished with the stream, right? At first and second round, Charles Oliveira, he's throwing single legs. He's throwing double legs. He's trying to get Michael Chandler down to the ground, and he's succeeding. Talking about Michael Chandler here, the guy, he's a collegiate wrestler, the guy whose wrestling is his background, yeah, the short, stocky, muscly dude. Charles Oliveira is able to take him and dump him onto his ass in both rounds, first and the second round. Charles Oliveira can do that to Chandler. Surely he can do that to Holloway. But here's the thing. These collegiate wrestlers, right? They're a bit of a false positive in the UFC. No one tries to take them down because their background is wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, no one's trying to take down Gaethje. No one's trying to take Chandler down. No one's trying to take Colby Covington down. But what we see is, when people do try and take them down, that collegiate wrestling style doesn't really transfer over to MMA 1-for-1. It's a bit of a myth. They're not used to having the cage on their back. They're not used to having those little MMA trips and throws, right? They can be taken down. Leon Edwards was able to take Colby Covington down. Charles Oliveira was able to take Michael Chandler down. The collegiate wrestling style is not the superpower meta to MMA people have built it up to be. And guys have tried to take Holloway down before. There is a chance that Max Holloway, the lankier build of a guy, has a better takedown defense in MMA than Michael Chandler does. So now, if the new MMA wrestler, Charles Oliveira, can't take down Max Holloway, here's why I'm bringing this up. This year, there is a massive chance that the fight is going to happen. Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway too. And the community is going to be super divided over this, as I have recently learned. But the Max fans seem to have reasons to be confident. Whereas the Charles Oliveira fans, it just seems to be the champ has a name. Like, that is really all they've got. The fact that, well, it's Charles Oliveira. That's sort of all I had when I was looking at this. And 50% of the chat couldn't give me any other reasons as to what else. What else have we got other than, well, it's Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is going to win. Obviously, Charles Oliveira is going to win, man. Charles Oliveira. He has to win. And I don't know if I'd put my money on that. In fact, with, my prediction, now that I'm on YouTube, my prediction ratio gets kind of watched closely. And I don't know if I'm going to risk my prediction ratio on, well, because it's Charles Oliveira. I feel like Max beats Charles Oliveira like 70% of the time. So, if you are a Charles Oliveira diehard and a hardcore, please explain to me, how the hell does Charles Oliveira actually beat Max Holloway in their second fight that is most likely going to happen this year? Put it down there in the comments. If this is your first time here, g'day, welcome. My name is Dougie. I try and make an MMA video every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, and I go live about 3 times a week. If you want to know when that happens, you hit that subscribe button. If you want to know when I go live, you hit that notification bell. If you're already on board with the channel, you want to help this channel grow, you want to help me spend more time on the channel and make it bigger and better and thicker and girthier, then go ahead and leave a like. And if you are one of the guys that helps support this channel financially, you're one of the channel members, thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate every single one of you guys. Enjoy the foot emoji, and I will see you all in the next video.